Welcome back to Superbly Said, Advanced English Vocabulary and Phrases.
It's great to be back.
Yeah, and just real quick, this material is drawn directly from a really fantastic SpeakDuo lesson.
Right.
And so if you haven't yet, you really should head over to SpeakDuo.com. You can, meet new people from all around the world who are practicing their English on video calls.
It's honestly one of the best ways to get comfortable.
Oh, hands down. It's the best way to become more confident with your speaking abilities. But right now, for you advanced English learners out there, we are jumping straight into our first set of phrases.
Yeah, and we are looking at a very specific progression today, actually.
Okay, lay it on us.
Well, if you pay close attention to advanced English idioms especially, the ones used in professional environments, you'll notice they rely really heavily on metaphors of physical movement.
Interesting, like physical space.
Exactly. Persuasion, trust, failure, they aren't treated as just these invisible concepts. We actually speak about them as, physical journeys we take with other people.
Which is a really fascinating lens to view this through.
I think so, yeah.
So we're going to track the entire life cycle of, corporate survival today, starting with that physical experience of the new arrival.
Yes, the classic starting point.
Right, because you step into a new environment, kick off a new project, and you have to figure out how to just, operate in this new space.
Let's start with a classic one, to show someone the ropes.
Yeah, so when we look at showing someone the ropes, the physical, tactile nature of the idiom is literally the whole point.
Right.
Because people often confuse this with simply training someone, but the mechanism is entirely different,
Wait, how is it different? I mean, training is training, right?
Well, no, training is formal. It's like the HR module you click through on a computer screen.
Oh, right, the boring stuff.
Exactly. But showing someone the ropes, that comes from 18th century sailing ships.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah. Experienced sailors literally had to show new crew members which of the hundreds of rigging ropes controlled which sail. Because if you pull the wrong one, the ship is in danger.
Exactly.
That makes perfect sense.
Right.
So it's the difference between the actual employee handbook and, the veteran employee pulling you aside.
Yes. Sharing the insider tips.
Like explaining which printer actually works and which manager to completely avoid before they've had coffee.
Yes, exactly. It's practical, hands-on survival knowledge.
So if you were talking to your boss, you could say something like, I'm getting settled and, Sarah has been showing me the ropes.
Right, and that perfectly communicates that you're getting those unwritten insider rules.
Makes sense.
Okay, what's next?
So while you are getting a feel for those ropes, you simultaneously have to learn your cues.
Learn your cues. Okay.
Yeah, and this phrase requires a little bit of finesse. A lot of learners equate it with reading the room.
Yeah, I would probably think those are the same thing.
They're similar, but reading the room is about sensing a static environment. You're just gauging if the collective mood is tense or relaxed.
Okay, I'm with you. But learning your cues, which comes from the theater where actors have to wait for their exact moment to enter the stage, that is about dynamic personal timing.
Oh, I picture this like jumping into a game of double dutch jump rope.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, because you can't just run in blindly, right? You'll ruin the game for everyone.
Exactly. You'll trip on the ropes.
Right. You have to stand on the sideline, watch the physical rhythm of the swinging ropes, bob your head a little bit, and learn your cues before you actually jump in.
That analogy hits the nail on the head. It is entirely about observing the rhythm of a group before you insert yourself into it.
Nice. So imagine you're taking the IELTS exam.
Okay.
In a Part 2 response about joining a new group, you could say, when I joined the debate club, I spent the first week just trying to learn my cues so I wouldn't interrupt.
Perfect. It paints a really clear picture of someone who is, highly observant of social timing.
Yeah. But, observation only gets you so far, right?
Right. Eventually, you have to transition to active preparation. Which brings us to our next one, having done your homework.
Done your homework. Now, this isn't about high school math, is it?
No, not at all. The context completely shifts the meaning here. In a professional setting, we aren't talking about academic studying or reviewing flashcards.
So what does it mean?
To say you have done your homework means you have executed targeted strategic research for a specific professional event.
Oh.
Like you've investigated the background of the people you're meeting with or maybe the history of a specific market trend.
Right, so it kind of reframes the person from a student into an investigator.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it.
So a boss praising a colleague wouldn't use this if she just, read a manual. They'd say, she really impressed the panel today. She had clearly done her homework on our competitors.
Yes, it implies a real digging process.
Got it. And even when you dig deep into that homework, I imagine you might still encounter some surprises.
Oh, absolutely. Which brings us to realizing there is more to it than meets the eye.
More to it than meets the eye?
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, people usually just default to saying, well, it's complicated when things get tough. Why use this longer phrase instead?
Well, because saying it's complicated is just a flat statement of difficulty, you know?
Right.
But more to it than meets the eye introduces this kind of cognitive dissonance. It highlights the gap between your initial visual assumption and the hidden reality you just uncovered.
Oh, so it specifically means the complexity was actively concealed or just invisible at first glance.
Yes, exactly. You looked at the surface and essentially got tricked.
Ah, okay. So if I'm discussing a project with a colleague, I could say, I thought this software update would take an hour, but there's definitely more to it than meets the eye.
Perfect. You are acknowledging that sneaky, unexpected layer of depth.
I like that. And that actually moves us into the next phase of our corporate life cycle, I think.
It does.
Because once you know the ropes and you understand the hidden depths, you have to start making decisions and pitching ideas.
Yes, the pitching phase.
So let's look at the physical weight of decision-making, starting with the phrase, mull something over.
I love this one. The etymology here is really revealing.
Oh, tell.
So mulling originally referred to grinding things into powder or like the slow simmering process of heating spices and wine.
Oh, like mulled wine.
Exactly. It's a physical transformation. So mulling something over is a step far beyond simply thinking about something.
Because it's slower.
Right. It implies a slow, deliberate, and really careful pondering before you finalize a choice.
See, I do wonder, though, if mulling something over is often just a polite corporate shield for procrastination.
What do you mean?
Like someone says, I'm mulling it over, but really they are just terrified to make a call.
Oh, no, sure. It can function as a stalling tactic,
Right.
definitely. But functionally, the phrase signals respect for the gravity of the decision.
No, I see.
By claiming you need to mull it over, you communicate to the other party that their proposal is heavy enough that a snap judgment would just be disrespectful.
That makes a lot of sense. It assigns weight to the choice. So if a hiring manager gives you a lucrative job offer, you respond, thank you for the offer. I'd like the weekend to mull it over.
Exactly. You aren't just making them wait, you are honoring the importance of their offer.
I love that.
Mm.
And what happens when that slow simmering process actually changes your mind?
That's when you come around to someone's way of thinking.
Come around. Again with the spatial metaphor.
Yeah, you notice the spatial movement here. You aren't just agreeing.
Right.
If we just agree, we might have been standing in the same spot all along, right?
Sure.
But to come around to someone's way of thinking maps out a physical journey. You started in an opposing position, but through evidence or persuasion, you basically traveled across the intellectual space to stand beside them.
That is so cool. The narrative arc is built right into the phrase itself.
Exactly.
So in an IELTS Part 2 story about, let's say, resolving a conflict, you could say, I initially hated the marketing strategy, but after seeing the data, I came around to my colleague's way of thinking.
Yes. And that instantly demonstrates flexibility and character growth to the examiner.
Brilliant. And if you travel all the way to their side, I guess you might finally endorse the idea.
Yes, endorsing something.
How does that compare to just supporting it?
So endorsing elevates your agreement from a private thought to public record.
Okay.
It isn't just supporting an idea behind closed doors. Endorsing is an official expression of approval. You are essentially attaching your personal reputation to the success or failure of that idea.
Wow. Okay, so it's very official. So in a professional update, you'd announce, we can move forward now that several industry experts have endorsed the proposal.
Exactly. You're using their public weight to push the project along.
Got it. Okay, our last phrase in the pitching phase is self-confessed.
Now, the contrast here relies heavily on tone, specifically when you compare it against the word admitted.
Right, because admitted sounds kind of negative.
Exactly. We typically admit to a crime or a failure or a deficit, but self-confessed strips away all that shame. It is usually used playfully to take ownership of, like, a personal quirk, a harmless habit, or some passionate interest.
So you wouldn't introduce yourself by saying, I am a self-confessed embezzler.
Definitely not, unless you want to be arrested.
Right. But you might use it while networking, saying something like, I'm a self-confessed foodie, so I've already mapped out all the best lunch spots near the office.
Exactly. It functions as a really great icebreaker.
Okay, awesome. But eventually, the networking ends and the real execution begins. Our career life cycle moves into management.
The fun part.
Oh, yeah. You need discipline, you handle sensitive info, you enforce standards. So let's examine what happens when a leader needs to run a tighter ship.
Returning to our nautical roots here.
I love the boat references.
Me too. So running a tighter ship is distinctly different from simply being strict.
How so?
Well, a manager can be strict just by yelling or by being inflexible about really minor details. But running a tighter ship is a sociological shift in a company. It focuses on systemic efficiency, eliminating slack in the ropes, and just generally raising operational standards across an entire team.
You see, when a boss announces they're going to run a tighter ship, I feel like employees immediately brace for micromanagement.
Oh, for sure.
Like, they assume someone's going to be breathing down their neck, tracking their bathroom breaks. Is that what it means?
That anxiety is super common. But no, true micromanagement is about controlling individual behavior. Running a tighter ship is about tightening the overarching processes.
The systems.
Right. It is usually implemented after a period of organizational sloppiness where critical details were just falling through the cracks. The goal is structural integrity, not individual punishment.
Okay, that distinction really changes how you deliver the phrase.
It does.
So a manager addressing the team sets a collective goal, like, after the recent delays, I've decided we need to run a tighter ship to improve our quality control. Speaking of quality, one of the biggest threats to a tight ship is an employee doing things Parrot fashion.
Oh, the psychology behind this phrase is fascinating.
Okay, lay on me.
We usually contract it with memorizing. Right. Rote memorization is a completely neutral cognitive act, like you memorize a phone number.
Sure.
But doing something Parrot fashion describes the illusion of competence.
Ooh, I like that phrasing.
Yeah, it means repeating complex information mechanically, mimicking the sounds without grasping the actual underlying logic or meaning.
Like a literal parrot.
Exactly.
It's the difference between passive echoing and active comprehension. So if you're critiquing a presentation, you might confide in a coworker. He recited the safety guidelines Parrot fashion, but I don't think he understood a word of it.
Precisely. The words are there, but the understanding is just hollow.
But what if the problem goes deeper than just a hollow presentation, though? What if the situation leaves you troubled by something?
Now we have to measure the emotional weight. Being troubled by something is entirely different from being annoyed by it.
How so?
Annoyance is a surface-level friction, like a flickering fluorescent light.
Super annoying.
Right. But if you are troubled, the issue sits heavy in your gut. It indicates a really lingering ethical, moral, or structural concern that you just cannot easily shake off.
So it demands to be taken seriously.
Exactly.
So raising an issue with HR, you wouldn't say you were annoyed. You'd say, I was troubled by the lack of clear instructions regarding the new safety protocols.
Right. That specific phrasing forces the listener to lean in and take you seriously.
And if HR launches an investigation into those protocols, they will likely do it under the utmost secrecy.
Yes. And the modifier does all the heavy lifting here.
The word utmost.
Yeah. Because you can simply say you are doing something secretly. But utmost derives from an Old English word meaning the furthest, most extreme outward point.
Oh, fascinating.
So saying under the utmost secrecy elevates that confidentiality to the absolute highest non-negotiable priority.
It injects instant drama into any narrative, honestly. So in an IELTS exam, describing a surprise, you could say, we planned my parents' anniversary party under the utmost secrecy.
Yes. It transforms a simple party planning story into, like, a covert operation.
I love that.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, even with extreme secrecy and tight management, our corporate life cycle eventually hits a crisis.
It always does.
We reach the final phase, which is the fallout. Let's look at the physical mechanics of broken trust, starting with going back on a deal.
Right. And the physical imagery here is crucial. We must separate this from just canceling.
Okay.
Canceling a meeting is a completely neutral administrative adjustment. But to go back on a deal implies a reversal of progress. You laid a foundation of trust with another party, and then you physically retreated, pulling your support and violating the established agreement.
So you essentially kicked the pillar out from under the relationship.
Precisely.
Explaining a sudden crisis to a boss, you'd say, the main supplier went back on the deal, leaving us to find a replacement immediately.
Exactly. It's an active betrayal.
And when that pillar collapses, all your hard work is liable to go down the drain.
Ugh, yes. Another highly visceral spatial metaphor.
So visual.
It really is. We don't just say a project failed because, failure can be productive. You can salvage data or lessons from a failure.
Very true.
But when something goes down the drain, it evokes this irreversible physical void. The time, the capital, the late nights, they are swallowed up completely and just utterly wasted.
Man, it's the feeling of watching momentum just vanish into nowhere.
It's the worst.
So venting to a colleague, you'd say, when the venue canceled last minute, 2 months of our preparations just went down the drain.
Yes, you are mourning the total loss of that effort.
Totally. Okay, our final phrase before we test your knowledge is another form of sudden absence. To stand someone up.
Oh, this is a highly specific, very vulnerable type of social failure.
It hurts.
It really does. It goes far beyond missing an appointment or running late. To stand someone up means failing to show up entirely, providing zero prior warning, and literally leaving the other person physically standing alone in a space, waiting for an arrival that will just never happen.
Ouch. It physically isolates the victim in space.
Exactly.
So in an IELTS Part 2 story about a disappointing experience, saying, I waited at the cafe for over an hour before realizing I'd been stood up by my client, instantly conveys the embarrassment and the stark reality of being left behind.
It really paints a vivid picture for the examiner.
All right, well, we have tracked the entire life cycle from new arrival to ultimate fallout. Now it is time to put your advanced English comprehension to the test with the SpeakDuo quiz.
Let's do it.
Okay, here's how this works. For each of the 8 questions, I will read the prompt and 3 options. Option A, Option B, and Option C. Pay close attention to how the idiom functions in the sentence. After I read the options, I will prompt you to pause this deep dive so you can think it through. Right after that pause, we'll break down the correct answer and the underlying mechanics. Let's see how sharp your instincts are. Are you ready?
I'm ready if they are.
All right, question 1. Which sentence uses the idiomatic phrase, more to it than meets the eye, correctly? Option A. The massive corporate merger clearly possessed more to it than meets the eye today. Option B. The highly experienced professional optometrist carefully examined more to it than meets the eye. Option C. The incredibly hungry restaurant customer wanted meat more to it than meets the eye. Feel free to pause the deep dive here if you need to think about the answer.
The correct answer is Option A. As we discussed, more to it than meets the eye describes a situation with hidden complexities. It has absolutely nothing to do with a literal optometrist checking your vision, and certainly nothing to do with ordering extra meat at a restaurant.
I love that meat option. Okay, question 2. Select the context where the phrase, go down the drain is most appropriately used. Option A. The incredibly clumsy professional municipal plumber watched something heavy quickly go down the drain. Option B. Following the unexpected massive project cancellation, our extensive preparations completely went down the drain. Option C. The terrified young children watched the massive pouring rain rapidly go down the drain. Go ahead and pause the deep dive here if you need a moment.
And it is Option B. Go down the drain is a figurative expression for the irreversible waste of time or effort after a cancellation. It is definitely not used to describe a literal plumber dropping tools or rainwater flowing away.
Nice. Question 3. In which situation does someone accurately do something parrot fashion, figuratively? Option A. The incredibly wealthy exotic pet collector purchased a beautiful green bird displaying parrot fashion. Option B. The highly creative modern clothing designer proudly presented an incredibly colorful tropical parrot fashion. Option C. The deeply confused, nervous university student unfortunately recited the complicated presentation entirely parrot fashion. Pause this deep dive here to lock in your answer.
The answer is Option C. Doing something parrot fashion outlines that psychological illusion of competence we talked about, reciting words blindly without understanding their meaning. It does not refer to actual exotic birds or runaway clothing trends.
Got it. All right, question 4. Which response best demonstrates the advanced phrase, run a tighter ship? Option A. The highly experienced, newly appointed corporate manager immediately decided to run a tighter ship. Option B. The highly skilled professional naval captain successfully attempted to forcefully run a tighter ship. Option C. The exhausted corporate warehouse employee attempted to quickly pack and run a tighter ship. Feel free to pause the deep dive here if you need to think about the answer.
Option A is correct. So despite its nautical origins, running a tighter ship is a modern business idiom about implementing strict organizational discipline and systemic efficiency. It is not about a literal naval captain or packing shipping boxes.
Halfway there. Question 5. How would a professional accurately use the phrase mull something over? Option A. The incredibly talented professional bartender carefully prepared hot spiced wine to mull something over. Option B. The incredibly cautious, experienced corporate executive needed additional quiet time to mull something over. Option C. The frustrated professional backyard gardener desperately attempted to rapidly catch and mull something over. Hit pause on this deep dive if you want to mull this one over yourself.
Ah, I see what you did there. It's option B. To mull something over means to take your time and deliberately ponder a weighty decision. While the etymology does trace back to heating spices, in a professional context, you aren't making hot mulled wine.
You never know. Maybe it helps. Okay, question 6. Which scenario perfectly illustrates the ability to go back on a deal? Option A. The incredibly frustrated losing professional casino gambler wanted to go back on a deal. Option B. The deeply confused elderly smartphone user attempted to furiously go back on a deal. Option C. The incredibly dishonest corporate supplier unfortunately decided to completely go back on a deal. Pause this deep dive if you need a second to decide.
The correct choice is option C. Going back on a deal describes the structural collapse of a business relationship when someone withdraws from an established agreement. You definitely can't use it to undo a bad hand at a casino or fix a smartphone error.
Almost done. Question 7. Which sentence accurately utilizes the advanced phrase, stand someone up? Option A. The highly irresponsible, terribly inconsiderate romantic partner decided to completely stand someone up tonight. Option B. The incredibly helpful, strong medical nurse attempted to carefully physically stand someone up today. Option C. The deeply exhausted theatrical director aggressively demanded the cast carefully stand someone up on stage. Feel free to pause this deep dive here if you need to think about the answer.
It's option A. To stand someone up means leaving someone physically waiting by failing to appear for a meeting without any warning. It really does not mean using physical strength to lift a patient or an actor to their feet.
All right, the final test. Question 8. Which of the following statements correctly uses come around to someone's way of thinking? Option A. The incredibly lost pedestrian eventually managed to come around to someone's way of thinking. Option B. Following the brilliant presentation, she finally did come around to someone's way of thinking. Option C. The aggressive marathon runner decided to rapidly come around to someone's way of thinking. Pause this deep dive one last time to figure this one out.
Option B is the winner. This phrase perfectly captures the intellectual journey of finally agreeing with someone's perspective after initially opposing it. It has absolutely nothing to do with pedestrians walking around a block or marathon runners changing direction.
And that wraps up the quiz. I hope you navigated that well or, at least picked up the structural nuances along the way.
I'm sure they did great.
Definitely. So before we close the book on this topic, let's pull all these threads together. What's the big takeaway here?
Well, if there is one core insight to carry away, it is that the English language really does not treat professional relationships as abstract concepts. When you speak to your boss or recount a story in your IELTS exam, you are actually mapping out physical movement.
Yeah, that's wild to think about.
You start by learning the ropes, you take the time to mull things over, you travel across space to come around to an idea, and if things break down, you might go back on a deal or watch it all go down the drain. The vocabulary of business is essentially a vocabulary of spatial physics.
Man, you are constantly negotiating the physical space between you and the person across the table.
Exactly.
Use these advanced idioms to show you understand exactly where you stand and where you're trying to go. Take these concepts into your next big meeting. Use them to impress your colleagues or your examiner, and we will see you on the next one.